Hello, today we are going to learn on financial functions in MS Excel. As you can see that under the formula bar there is an option for financial functions, and you can see a huge list of financial functions over here, but I choose a few functions, financial functions among that huge list. So we will illustrate these each and every functions that I have listed in this Excel sheet one by one with an illustration. I think these are the functions that you might guys will use in future also. That's why I chose the most frequently used or top financial functions over the MS Excel application. So in this sheet we will learn on FV, then FV schedule, NPR and rate first, then we will move with PV and PMT and IRR. So let's learn one by one. So these are the functions which is very much related with your financial and accounting papers, the terms, the technical terms which are very much familiar with you guys, more than me I hope. You know the what the term defines for, so it will be very easy to you that to catch what that function meant for and what is the purpose for. So let's learn one by one. So the first one is FV. FV stands for FV stands for future value. That means we have a current amount in a cash on hand now. At present situation we have a cash to deposit or to use, but we do not know what will be the future value that we will receive after 4 years or after 1 year or even after a 6 months or a quarterly or a half yearly. So we want to estimate what will be the future value with the present value that we have now. So for that purpose we will use FV function. So FV, which is a function used to find out or to estimate what will be the future value if I have an amount of this much as cash on hand now. When I invest this amount, what will be the amount after 4 years or a 6 month or a 4 months or more than 1 year. Okay. So here which calculates the future value of an investment with periodic constant payments and a constant interest rate. So before move on to the illustration of future value, let's learn on a few terms that we will use in this financial functions as an arguments. So the first one is rate. Rate means it is the interest rate or period, so which might be in a percentage value or in a fractional value. So if it is in percentage, then you have no problem, you can directly enter into it. Otherwise you have to make it in a percentage value. Okay, if it is in a 0.5 or 0.05 values, then you have to make it in a percentage value. So you have to check whether the rate value is given in a percentage format or not. If it is not, you have to self format that particular value into a percentage value. Okay, then NPR is the number of periods, so how long you will take or you will need to deposit or to get that money. So that is the number of periods. PMT is payment per period. So if you deposit an amount today, then after 1 month of this date you have to pay a few amount, like a loan amount or some kind of that transactions. You have to pay an amount month by month or by yearly or a quarterly or semi yearly. So what will be that amount that you are going to pay month by month or quarterly or that period? So that is what PMT meant for. And PV is the present value, FV is the future value, and type. There is an argument we usually used named type. Type refers for when the payment is made at the end of a period or beginning of a period. So that means you might pay at the starting of this month or by the end of this month. So what is that mode? Either is at the beginning or at the end. So to mention that pattern, in what pattern you are going to pay the amount per period. So whether it is in beginning of a month or a year or a quarterly, or at the end of a year or a month or a quarterly. So 0 and 1 denotes for that. We will see it in the illustration itself. So here I have a question like Anna has invested the rupees 100 in 2016. The payment has been made yearly. The interest rate is 10% PA. What would be the future value in 2019? So this was a question which I got from the net, so that's why it's of the period of 2016 and 2019. So neglect that, just look at on the question itself. Okay, so she paid an amount of 100, so her present value was 100. So a cash on hand was 100. The payment has been made yearly, so she will pay a particular amount year wise. The interest rate is 10% PA, so that is the rate. The term rate itself is 10% and it is also in percentage pattern, so no need to translate or to change the format of a rate into percentage, so it's already given in percentage. So what would be the future value? So we want to find out what is the future value. So I just put all the given datas under these cells. So rate as 10%, NPER as 3. How did NPER as 3? Because she made the payment on 2016 and we have to find out the future value of 2019. So difference between 2019 and 2016 is 3. So NPER, the number of period, is 3. Because when I invest an amount of 100 in this year, I have to find out what will be the future value of 2023 or 2022. So the difference between 2023 and 2020 is 3. So like that, this 3 denotes the difference between the 2019 and 2016. So this payment, the question was actually happened during the year of 2016. Okay. So PMT is equal to 1. Why 1? Because it is yearly payment. So the payment has been made yearly. That's why PMT refers to 1. Okay. Then PV. PV was 100. PV is a cash that we are going to invest, no, so that is why it represented as a negative number, because it is going to invest. We are giving our money from our hand to something else, so so that's why, to denoting that cash outflow, it's not an inflow, right? So to denote that outflow of cash, we are using a negative symbol for that. So type, so as you can see, that type is 0. Okay, so what does that 0 denotes? So here you can see that the last argument is type. Okay, so rate we have, NPR also we have, PMT, PV, all the datas are here along with the question, the given datas from the question itself. So see the type. 0 means end of the period, 1 means beginning of the period. So either 0, by default it will be in 0. So if nothing is specified in the question, you just put 0. If the payment has been made yearly and at the beginning of the period, if it specifically tells like that, then you have to put type as 1. Okay, So here nothing is specified, so we will set by default type as 0, not 0, the cell value, comma, this one. Okay. Shit. Yeah. Then present. So this is how we will calculate the future value. So by investing an 100 of 100 rupees during 2016, and we will get 129.79 as the future value during the year of 2019. So this is how we can calculate the future value. Okay. So as you can see that the formula for FV, the arguments are rate, NPR, PMT, PV and type. So from this arguments itself we will calculate rate, NPR, PMT, PV like these. So we can use the same formula or same arguments for finding out these argument values also. Okay, so for finding out rate, also we are passing these same kind of arguments like NPR, PMT, PV, FV. Instead of rate there will be FV. Look on NPR also. So NPR also has the arguments like rate, PMT, PV, FV type, etc. So these four functions have the same arguments. So that's why these I referred these cell as the common terms that we will use to find out these values. So now we found out with the how to calculate the future value if we have a present value with a constant rate. Okay. So next one is FV schedule. So FV schedule calculates the future value of an initial principal and after applying a series of compound interest rate. So for FV there was only a single constant rate. Okay, so if the rate is varying, it the function which is having the variable interest rate, that means changing interest rate, then we can use FV schedule for that. So look at the next example. Manu has invested rupees 100 at the end of 2016. It is expected that the interest rate will change every year. In 2017, 18 and 19, the interest rates would be 4%, 6% and 5% respectively. What would be the future value in 2019? So the principal amount is 100, then that is our PV is 100, then during the 2017 the rate is 4%, 2018 it is 6% and 2019 it is 5%. In the previous illustration the rate was only a single or a constant interest rate, that is 10%. So we can use FV for finding out the future value. But here the case is different. It has a variable interest rate. It's not same as year by year. So during the 2017 it was 4 and 18 it comes to 6% and 19 it became less by 1%, that is 5%. So in these cases if we have a variable interest rate, that means rapid change in the interest rate which is not remain as constant rate, then we can use FV schedule. So let's see the arguments and the syntax of FV schedule. FV schedule has two arguments only, principal and schedule. So schedule refers to the varying interest rate, that cell range, and principal is the principal amount that we are going to invest. So here both the datas are given. So principal amount is equal to 100 and the varying schedules are also listed there. So simply putting these values we will get, or we will find out what will be the future value. So let's look at on the question carefully that in the question itself it is asked for future value, finding out the future value, same question as the previous one, but you have to be take care what are the values that are given. Okay, if it is you have to mainly check whether the rate is constant or variable. So if it is constant, you can simply or directly use the function fv, but if it is changing interest rate, then instead of using the fv you have to use fv schedule. Okay, so the question will ask same as what will be the future value. So by simply going to calculate the future value using the fv function, it might be wrong, it might gone wrong. So just check whether the rate value, whether it is constant or a variable one. So according to the rate value, you have to find out which function, which future value function is going to be used for finding out. Okay, the solution. Next, we are going to learn on NPER. So NPER returns the number of periods for an investment with periodic constant payments and a constant interest rate. So here also we are using the same values and the same question here so that we can compare, no? That's why I illustrated the same example here. So for NPER, we have to find out this 3 assets value or 3 assets solution. So the question will be like this: Anna has invested the rupees 100 in 2016 and the payment has been made yearly. The interest rate is 10% and by 2019 the amount was 129.79. What will be the number of periods that she took for that? Okay, so we have to find out the number of periods. So for that we also have a formula like NPER equals NPER brackets open. We have to enter the rate value, that is 10%, PMT value, that is yearly basis we are going to pay the amount, no? So 1 as the PMT value, PV as cash on hand value, that is minus 100, that which is an outflow, so that's why you have to put minus 100. Then FV is 129.79, then type you can give 0 or 1. So I simply put the default one, 0. So I just press enter also. So now we will get the solution as 3. So what about the next function, rate? Rate function calculates the interest rate required to pay off a specified amount of a loan or reach a target amount on an investment over a given period. So here we have to find out the rate, that is 10%. The other details which are already given in the question. So what will be the rate function? So rate has also the same arguments that I shown just before or during the early stage of this video. So equals rate NPER. What was the NPER amount? It was 3. PMT amount, PMT was 1. PV minus 100, FV 129.79. Type as 0. Guess is the value which we are simply put by default we will give a 0.1 as its value. What does that guess means for? So the guess means an assumption of what you think the rate should be look like. Okay, so guess is a default value. If nothing is given, you can simply give 0.1. Usually in question the guess value will not be provided, so you have to simply put it as 0.1. Okay, so just put 0.1 as guess value and find out. That means percentage value, so you have to make it as 0.1. So I simply put the same values that we have already given in the question itself, then I press enter. So check, the rate is also 10%. So we can compare, the rate is similar or the same rate which is retrieved by the Excel itself by using the different formulas. So this is how we will calculate future value, FV schedule, NPR, rate. Now let's move on to PV, present value. So present value, which is mainly used to calculate the present value of an investment. That is the total amount that a series of future periodic constant payment is worth now. So we know what will be the future value, but we don't have what the capital we have now. So to finding out that future present value, we are using PV as function in MS Excel. So here is a question. The future value of an investment is rupees 100 in 2019. The payment has been made yearly. The interest rate is 10% PA. What would be the PV as of now? So the same values that we already calculated, that we have used to calculate future value itself. Okay, now we are going to find out what will be the present value. So rate is 10%, it's already given in the question. NPR, it's the difference between 2019 and the current year. But for this question, the year was 2016, that's why. So here it's simply like I am just putting a question in this year and you guys are referring the same question or the same question from the net after 3 years. So like this I referred this question. This blog was already done during the year of 2016. Okay. So what will be the present value as of now means during the 2016. Okay. So NPR is the difference between 2016 and 2019. It's 3. PMT is yearly base. The payment has been made. So has going to be made. So it's 1. FV is 100. So future value of an investment is rupees 100. So it's already telling that the future value of an investment is rupees 100. That means outflow of the cash of 100 in future. And in 2019 it is going, the amount is outflowing, so by the year of 2019, so it denoted as negative 100 and type by default it is 0. So the function is PV equals PV of rate, NPR, PMT, FV and type. All the datas are given, so it's simply just need to put the values on each argument and press enter. So we calculated this will be the present value that we have to invest. Okay, so the change was from the previous question. While we finding out the future value, our present value was 100 and what will be the future value? So it is 129. So here the case is future we have only 100 instead of 129. So if we put 129.79 same here, okay, 129 point, what was the value? 129.79, yeah, 129.79. See, the value has changed, so it comes nearly to the 100 value. So accordingly the values will get changed. Okay, so yeah, this is how we will use the function PV to find out the present value if we have future value, rate, NPR, PMT, etc. So what is net present value? Net present value is an extension of present value which calculates the net present value of an investment based on a supplied discount rate and a series of periodic cash flows. So year by year, what will be the amount that we are going to the outgoing of cash? Okay, that is all, that will be already given in the question. So here we have an illustration. The rate of discount, the rate is, interest rate is 5%. Initial investment was 1000 rupees and return from first year to fourth year. So year by year the amount will be 300, 400, 400, 300. So there is a huge list of a series of periodic cash flows. So it is a periodic cash flow because it's year by year cash flow it's showing in this question, no. So it is a periodic cash flow. So for the syntax of NPV is rate comma value 1 comma value 2 comma etc., where rate means the discount rate for a period which is already given as 5%, value 1 value 2 etc. are positive or negative cash flows. Here the negative values would be considered as payments and positive values would be treated as inflows. So as you can see that for first investment was minus 1000. So it shows a negative value as a payment, that we are going to pay this much amount for something. So it is going to, the cash is going, no, that's why it's denoted by a negative symbol. The remaining values are returns, like that we are accepting this much of amount year by year. So it is inflow instead of outflow. So the positive symbols are used to represent that it is an inflow, not an outflow. So the function itself here, rate, first one is rate comma these areas. So B15 to B18, that means 300 to 300 value plus this minus 1000. Okay, since it's first value 1000 is denoting as an outflow and the remaining is denoting as a positive inflow, no. So this comes to a group and this comes to another group. That's why we clustered it in a single group like B15 to B18 as first group. Then we added the cash flow like B40. Okay. So then I press enter. We got the net present value as 240.87. So this is the net present value of an investment of 1000 rupees with an inflow of 400 and 300 year by year. So next one is XNPV. So what does XNPV denotes for? It calculates the net present value for a schedule of cash flows occurring at a series of supplied dates. So in the previous one there was no specified schedule dates or something like that. While we will calculating the XNPV, it will have a date, a schedule. Okay. So here you can see the difference also. The data, the two columns, the first two columns are same as the previous one, but there is a one more added column is there which gives the date or the schedules. Okay, it's all, you can say that it's all at the beginning of the month or can be a first day of each month. So nothing specifically in these dates, but just not that whether the data given with a schedule or not. So here if it is a if the question is with a scheduled date, then you use NPV to calculate the net present value. You use XNPV, else just simply use NPV. Okay, so here also the same formula as the NPV, but the one more argument will be added along with the XNPV. First one is rate, that is 5%. Values are the ranges from this initial invest to this investment, and comma the dates, the scheduled dates. Then press enter, you will get an amount of net present value. So this is how we will calculate the present value, if it is a net present value or a simply present value. Okay. Next, move on to PMT function. So PMT refers for what? Payment per period. No. So there is few more functions like PMT, PPMT. So let's look at on these two functions. PMT refers for payment per period. It calculates the payment required to reduce a loan from a supplied present value to a specified future value. That means if we are applying for a loan of an amount of this much, we are responsible to pay an amount yearly or a monthly, no? So why we are paying this amount monthly or yearly? Because to reduce the loan amount that we have to be paid after a few years. So how to calculate that payment, that amount? So we use PMT or PPMT. According to the requirement, we are using these functions. So let's see the first one, PMT. Rupees 1000 needs to be paid in full in 3 years. The interest rate is 10% PA and the payment needs to be done yearly. Find out PMT. Okay. So here the rate is 10%, NPER is 3, same as the previous questions like 2019 and 2016, no? So NPR is 3, PV is 1000. So this much amount is going to be paid. So PV is 1000. No future value is given, no type is also given. So either you can give blank or you can give 0 as here. So you can put it any manner, either an empty value or a 0 value. Okay. So calculation using PMT is, PMT also have the arguments like rate, NPR, PV, FV type. So that's why we listed these arguments here. So rate is given, NPR is given, PV is also given. No future value, no type. So we simply put it as blank. And we pressed enter and we got the payment per period. We got that amount. We have to pay 402 or approximation of 405 rupees year by year in full. Okay. So let's see the next example. What is PPMT used for? Rupees 1000 needs to be paid in full in 3 years. The interest rate is 10% and the payment needs to be done yearly. Find out the PPMT in the first year and the second year. So in the previous example, we generalized this much amount has to be paid year by year in full. So here we are specifically wants to know that by first year what should be the payment amount and by next year what should be the amount. So year by year what would be the PMT. So to calculate that we should use PPMT. So PPMT also has this argument. So rate, it's 10%, PR is 3. So we have to find out first year, second year. Okay. And and PV is present value, that is 1000. FV we don't know, type is also we don't know. So just simply put blank or 0 over here. So here I just simply put the blank. So here PER denotes the period. That means the first year or second year or third year. So for the first year PER is equal to 1. Okay. I just simply put enter. See the next example. So after the first year you have to pay 302 rupees in full. And what about the second year's payment? So to find out the second year you have to put 2 as PER argument. The remaining all put the same values. Rate as 10%, NPR as 3, PV as 1000. So just need to change the PER value, that is 2. So if you want to find out if the number of NPR was 4, you have to find out the amount for third year also. Okay, so you have, if we want to generalize what will be the amount that we have to pay year by year, we can use PMT. Otherwise, if you want to find out what will be the amount that you have to pay year by year, then you have to use PPMT instead of PMT. Okay. The last section of financial function is interest rate of return. So IRR. So under IRR there are 3 functions. Let us look at on this data also. So IRR calculates the internal rate of return or interest rate of return for a series of periodic cash flow. So IRR can be used to understand whether any project or investment is profitable or not. The firm uses IRR. If IRR is more than the hurdle rate, that is acceptable rate or average cost of capital, then it's profitable for the firm and vice versa. So we will just use IRR to find out the project investment is profitable or not. So IRR, the initial investment was 1000 and the returns year by year is also given here. So we have to find out what will be the rate. So here the calculation IRR has 2 arguments like values, comma, guess. As I just described about the guess argument, it is an assumption of what you think this particular value should look like. So you have to simply put 0, 1 by default. So I put 0, 1 as guess and the range of values as these given cash values. Either it is an inflow or an outflow, just keep it as a single group. So B3 to B7 comma 0.1. So we got the rate as 15%. What is MIRR denotes for? MIRR calculates the internal rate of return for a series of periodic cash flows considering the cost of the investment and the interest on the reinvestment of cash. So we are considering the cost of investment and the interest on the reinvestment of cash. So here we will have a finance rate along with the reinvestment rate. In the previous example, there was nothing else a rate like a reinvestment rate or finance rate. But if we are considering these 2 values like cost of investment and also the interest of the reinvestment, then we should use MIRR. The remaining details are same as the above example. The same values over here, 1000, 300, 400, 400, 300. And you have to simply put 2 more percentages value like finance rate and reinvestment rate. So here the finance rate is 12% and the reinvestment rate is 10%. And we simply put the rate on that argument list and we got the rate as 13%. See the difference? While we simply calculating an IRR, it was 15%, but along with the finance rate and reinvestment rate, it changes. Okay. What about the last one, XIRR? XIRR calculates the internal rate of return for a schedule of cash flows occurring at a series of supplied dates. So like PV, X and PV, there was a scheduled rate, no? So like that in IRR also, XIRR also, there is a scheduled date data for calculating the rate. So, sorry. So the remaining data are same as the above examples and the dates are given here. So in the function you have to pass values, dates and guess value. So So here also by default it is 0.1. So either you can simply put blank or you can specifically tell 0.1. If nothing is given, then just put blank there. So XIRR is equal to values, that is 1000 to 300, comma the scheduled dates C19 to C23, and I simply put enter over here, and we will get the rate of return. So that is interest rate of return. So hence we calculated the rate of return, present value, payment per period, future value schedule with the schedule, NPR and rate. So this is these are the functions which are most commonly used under the financial functions. I hope you all got the idea on financial functions. Learn through these functions and understand the concept of these functions also.